minutes to 11. This is Roger Huff, WDGY 2020 News. Following a day of meetings with various groups, law enforcement and civic, Minneapolis Mayor Arthur Naftalin held a press conference in his office to comment on the past 2 nights of disturbances in the Mill City. Naftalin said the first meeting was with representatives of the St. Paul Police, Hennepin County Sheriff, FBI, Secret Service, and National Guard. The mayor said this meeting was to reestablish mutual aid pacts to ensure citizens of Minneapolis that the Minneapolis police will have the manpower required to handle any future situation that may arise. Naftalin's second meeting today was with the leaders of such groups as the NAACP, the Human Rights Commission, TCOIC, and other civic organizations working for better human relations. The mayor said the chief purpose of this session was to continue efforts to provide avenues of redress for members of the community who feel they are not getting proper treatment. Prior to his press conference today, the mayor met with a number of young members of the black community in his outer office that had come to present grievances against members of the Minneapolis police force for actions last night at Powderhorn Park and the previous night during the disturbance at the Minneapolis Auditorium prior to the appearance of former Alabama Governor George Wallace. Naftalin offered these comments concerning complaints of no redress of grievances by certain segments of the community.
There are many people in the community who feel a sense of injustice, sometimes specifically directed against the police department. I am trying to establish the best possible procedures for the consideration of those grievances. There are some people who feel that the courts do not provide them a sufficient avenue for redress. There are some who feel that the new Minneapolis Commission on Human Relations and the new Department of Civil Rights is not adequate. I can only say that we are trying to make it, that department and the commission, as adequate as we possibly can, as quickly as we can. What I'm trying to say is that I believe our police department is trying to meet situations of threat and stress and tension in a proper and effective way. And we are trying at the same time to help citizens who feel they are aggrieved to have their grievances handled in as constructive and as dignified and as effective a way as possible. I cannot agree that there is indifference or insensitivity to the indication of grievances.
Minneapolis Mayor Arthur Naftalin. A St. Cloud, Minnesota man was killed this afternoon when his single-engine airplane crashed into the Mississippi River southeast of St. Cloud. The Sherburne County Sheriff's Office identified the victim as Carl Champa, who was alone in the plane when the accident occurred. 2 persons have been killed on Minnesota roads so far during the Independence Day weekend. Their deaths raised the state toll for the year to 431, 9 ahead of the same date 1 year ago. 20-year-old Ronald Reed of Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, was killed Wednesday night when the car he was driving hit a tree at a Sleepy Eye intersection. Arnold Miller of Cottage Grove, Minnesota, was fatally injured yesterday when the car he was driving collided with another vehicle at a rural intersection in Washington County. 2020 News by Dateline. Saigon. The U.S. mission in Saigon says it's believed 4 American entertainers were among 5 persons riding in a Jeep east of Saigon when it was ambushed by Viet Cong. El Salvador. 5 Central American presidents are gathered in El Salvador for an economic meeting that President Johnson will join tomorrow. San Antonio, Texas. President Johnson has signed a bill that provides penalties of up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine for desecrating the American flag. Dateline Geneva. UN Secretary General U Thant has arrived in Geneva but refuses to confirm speculation he'll fly to Paris tomorrow.
WDGY Sports.
WDGY Sports has learned that star center Wilt Chamberlain of the Philadelphia 76ers of the National Basketball Association has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. In return, the 76ers reportedly will receive 3 players and an undisclosed amount of cash. Things moved a little closer to a strike by National Football League players today. The president of the National League Players Association, John Gordy of the Detroit Lions, said in a statement, "As long as the owners refuse to resolve the pension problem, we have no choice but to take appropriate action." When asked if that meant a strike, the spokesman for the players answered, yes. WDGY, the Twin Cities leader with 2020 News.